Good evening, everybody. This is Paul Finkelstein with my online meet and greet, or M&G. Today we have a special guest. His name is John Picone. I hear he's the home loan expert out of Palm Beach Gardens. Okay, he's blushing just a little bit, especially with that bright light you see in the background there. How are you today, John?
Fantastic. How are you?
Good, and I'm glad I said the right name too, John, and I said it before. I'm saying it again. I'm doing great. I'm glad we were finally able to connect. I think I meet some people on Alignable, some people on LinkedIn, some people on Facebook, and maybe some people in person coming up soon. Did we meet besides Alignable anywhere else? Or just the
Alignable and LinkedIn.
Oh, okay.
Both. Yeah.
Both. Excellent. Let's dive into some questions and help everybody learn about you. I love doing these interviews because it gives me a chance to learn about your business, like in networking where you do a one-on-one, but also it creates a video file of everybody I've met. And that's one thing most people don't have is after you meet with somebody when they're networking, they only have just the memory, their photographic memory, and the only way they can remember somebody is the notes they didn't take or did take. But here we have about 13 to 20 minutes that I could literally, if somebody needs a home loan expert, all I got to do is send them a link of a YouTube video of this interview, and you'll tell us some insights. So let's start off with a basic question, and that's just tell us, how long have you been doing what you're doing?
So I've been doing finance for a little over 20 years, since 1997. Wow, so that's actually 23 years already. I started out in the automotive finance field, and then I got involved in mortgages in 2009. So we're about 11 years now that I've been doing actually mortgages.
Wow, that's excellent. And I think one of my parents told me that when you get past 10 years, you're pretty much considered an expert at what you do. And you must know what you're doing a thing or two at 11 years. So share us one success story that you're super proud of. Now, this could be for your business. You could switch back to something personal or a hobby or interest, but tell us one success story that you're real proud of.
That's a great question. I'm asked that a lot. In the mortgage business, I have a lot of success stories because as I'm a wholesale mortgage broker, so I'm very diversified. I get a lot of people that come to me that have been turned down with other lenders. And when I get them approved, that's a huge success because they're thinking, even though I say, yeah, I can do something, they're thinking he can't do anything. I was already turned down, maybe multiple lenders too. I've had a few people turned down by multiple lenders. And when I turn that into a loan and it goes, some of them don't go smoothly because normally when someone gets turned down, there's a lot of work involved. But when one goes really smoothly and they come to you and they hug you, and they're like, I can't believe you did this. Two other people said no. And, and the mortgage process is not easy. It's like some people would rather go to the dentist and get a filling done and get drilled than go through the process. So between everything that they have to reveal and the documentation and the questions. So that's a real rewarding success when somebody that's been turned down. And unfortunately, in the business, when they get turned down, some of those people that turn them down really like throw them away. If I can't get somebody approved right on the first bat, I at least try to tell them what direction to go in to possibly help them in the future. So I feel those are really great success stories.
Excellent, excellent. That's really good to know too, because root canal really is probably not somebody's favorite thing either, but going through 50 pages and then a result that they don't want to hear is definitely
right. That's the thing. That's the thing. At least when you go through the root canal and they drill it, it's done and the cavity's filled. But when someone does go through all of that time and paperwork and sacrifice, and then you can't do anything. That's
right.
That's why I try to, like I says, don't just say, "Oh, we can't do anything," I'm sorry. At least try and give them a look. This is what we need to do, and maybe I've had those are good success stories too. I've done that. I've had someone take a year to get their credit done. I call it get mortgage ready. I tell them how to save money, and then they come back a year later. That's really good too. When that happens like a year later and you actually started with them 12 months prior and then you finally get them in a house 12 months later, those two would be a good success story. But the ones hugging you, that's, and they're almost in tears when they're at the closing table and they get the keys.
Those are first-time buyers, or you have a lot of first-time buyers?
I deal with a lot of first-time buyers, a lot of veterans, heroes. As far as a hero is classified to us as the first responders, police, fire, rescue, nurses, doctors, teachers, principals, guidance counselors. I have special programs for all of those. I call them heroes. They're those people out there that are helping others, and that's why we help them.
Now, that leads me into my next question, which is it can't be all about the money. Well, it really is for everybody. Everybody's trying to earn a living. But what made you really passionate to want to get into the field that you're in, loans?
Well, I actually wish I got into mortgages. I do like finance. I was terrible in school. I was never good at math and any of that, but I do enjoy, like I do say that I could do this for free. If I could afford to do it for free, I would do it because I do enjoy, especially when I have a hard loan. All right, as much as it's great just to have, this is easy, put it through, great credit, goes smooth. The challenges of negotiating with a lender, having to, if you have to rebuttal an appraisal or, there's a lot of different things going on in a loan between underwriting, processing, the appraisal, gathering the information from the client, verification of employment. So there's a lot going on, gathering getting the correct payments to debt to income. So I do enjoy that, believe it or not. I mean, I don't know. I sometimes look at myself and say, hey, I hated school, hated it. Didn't like anything, reading and, math and all that. But in this process, for some reason, I don't know, I couldn't tell you why, I enjoy, the aspects of dealing with lenders and numbers and finance and balancing things. So I do enjoy that.
So if somebody here listening or future listeners, and they want to get a hold of you, tell us all the methods that you feel comfortable on the internet, a video where this could potentially be anywhere on, whether it's Wi-Fi. Would you want to give in this video your email address or your
Sure.
cell phone or your website? Up to you.
Absolutely. So my cell phone, which is obviously the best way because you can text, is 561-275-3984. And like I said, they can text me from 8 o'clock in the morning until midnight. Because some people, that's another thing that I do a little different. Some people want to be called, and they like to start with a text or an email. I'll give you that too. My email is JP, like John Picone, M for mortgage, L for loan, O for officer, 318@gmail.com. So JPMLO318@gmail.com. Because I do, I've had people tell me, hey, I had 10 people call me. I chose you because you text me. It's a little less invasive. Hey, I got your number when you have time, or if you want me to give your email. I work that way. A lot of people want to, be on the phone and be asking questions. I use a soft approach. I've been a first-time home buyer. I've gone through the process in 1999 when my first rate was 8% as a first-time home buyer, and the process was miserable. So I know what they're going through. On that aspect and the calls that you can get. What people shouldn't do, one thing I'd like to say, is don't put your information out on the internet, Google, loans, and as soon as you put your name out there and your email and your phone number, it gets sold a million times, and that's why people get harassed. And that's why if I get a number that way, I never call them. I always text or email. You call me when, you have a question. Makes it a little easier than when your phone just all of a sudden they put it on there and starts blowing up.
Now, this usually is about the spot where I come to wrap up the interview, and I'll wrap up everything we talked about. But is there something that you're dying to get out there that you would, if I were to ask you a question, what question would you want me to ask you, and then go ahead and answer it?
Well, when you're looking for a home or a mortgage, usually one goes with the other, the system's kind of set up a little backwards. Most people go to the realtor first, and then they get the mortgage person through the realtor. That's one way of going. I don't recommend that because the realtor doesn't have the financial experience. Believe it or not, you think they should go through the finance end first and they could point you in the wrong direction. You should find a mortgage person. You got to trust the mortgage person, so always check their reviews. And if a mortgage broker says, they don't want to, you should shop them. I have no problem if somebody wants to get and anything you do in life, get at least 3 quotes. Whether it's for insurance, a mortgage, whatever it takes, get 3 quotes. So, and always check the mortgage person's reviews and ask the questions. Do you have fees? On top of, the closing costs, are there any additional fees? I have no fees. That's why I'm a wholesale broker. So there's important things that it's not just the payment. It's not just the interest rate. It's also the closing costs. Those are the 3 things I always tell when shopping a mortgage. You want to look at the payment, the interest rate, and the total out of pocket. And then you get a true knowing where you're getting your best deal.
Excellent. And that gives us a little bit more insight into how you work, how you're willing to help people, etc. Let's just do a quick recap to talk about what we talked about. The first thing we talked about was how long John's doing what he's doing. You could rewind to the first part of this video and learn all about that. Then John shared with us his success story that he's most proud of. And then we went into that it's not all about the money. There's actually a passion for why in John's background, why he does what he does. Now, was there something in an early age that maybe I didn't bring out, that you didn't bring out, that in an early age, you said you weren't good in math, but you loved helping people? Was there something way back when, or was it only 10 years ago that you woke up and said, I'm going to help people with home loans?
I mean, that maybe, in the car business, when I was in the car business, I did special finance. That's what people with, challenged credit. So that was always helping people, because those people too, again, when you go in to buy a car, and if your credit's a little marginal, you're always worried, right, if you're going to get approved. So that was rewarding, getting people with challenged credit that didn't think they can get it approved. And I did that for, a long time. As far as work, I've always liked to help people. I'm the type of guy on the side of the road. I can remember going down North Lake Boulevard, and a lady stuck on the side of the road, and I jumped out. My wife, we were actually on our way to a meet and greet to see Tico Torres, a drummer for Bon Jovi. She stuck on the side of the road. I said, look at this. I turned around. I said, she's in a bad spot, and I pushed her, And and years ago, I was in the towing business, so and I don't know. I guess maybe it does come by that. I don't know. As far as maybe that all connects somewhere. It's kind of a good question there. I never really been asked that.
Being in the service business, and also you went from car loans to home loans, so it's not a whole lot different, I imagine.
Not at all.
And so rather than say in the last part of the talk show, if you will, you gave us some methods of how people could connect with you. I'm sure you can go to John Picone, Picone, Picone.
Yeah, if you
LinkedIn,
Google
or Alignable, or probably Google John Picone Palm Beach Gardens, and you'll come up.
I'll come up. I've Googled myself. You can Google John Picone, John Gerard Picone, JP Picone, and I'll come up on Zillow. It'll come up in the searches.
Excellent. Well, it's really great having you. Stick around just for a second as we wrap up the interview, if you will. And really appreciate you coming out here. I'm Paul Finkelstein on Online Meet and Greet or omgtalk.com. Thanks so much for joining us this evening.
I appreciate it, Paul. Thank you.
No problem.